Hello everybody, this is the start to a completely beginner-friendly tutorial that encompasses the disassembly, reassembly, and downloading an operating system on this Acer Veriton M6 series PC. By the end of this tutorial, you'll know the basics of the hardware components inside, as well as the steps to take apart and rebuild a PC. To successfully complete this tutorial, these are the tools you'll need. A helpful tip for beginners is to take lots of pictures during the disassembly process to make sure that you don't forget where things go after you've taken them apart. Another tip is to label screws and other parts that can be easily lost during the disassembly, so that they can stay in one place and that you know what screws belong to what component. Now that we got that out of the way, let's begin the disassembly process. Rotate the PC until you can see the side that has ventilation holes. Lay the PC flat on the table. Then use your fingers to remove the thumb screw. Pull back the lever and pop the side panel out. Lift it up and away from the rest of the PC. Wear an anti-static wristband to ground yourself and avoid damage to components. Attach the end of the alligator clip to the chassis. Undo the notches holding the RAM sticks in place. Carefully remove each RAM stick from their respective slot on the motherboard. To begin the disassembly of the power supply, loosen the 4 screws found on the back side of the chassis. To remove the power supply, begin by unplugging all the connections from within the PC. First, unplug the 24-pin motherboard power connector. Then unplug the 4-pin CPU power connector. Next, disconnect the SATA power cable from the hard drive. Similarly, disconnect the SATA power cable from the DVD drive. Once all the connections leading to the power supply are unplugged, you can carefully lift it out of the chassis. To disconnect the hard drive from the motherboard, unplug the serial ATA connector as shown on screen. You can then simply remove the hard drive from the chassis by using the green tabs and slide it out. To remove the DVD drive, unscrew the 2 screws holding it in place. You can use the image on the right as a reference. Since we've already disconnected the serial ATA power cable from the power supply, we can simply slide out the DVD drive from the front of the chassis. To remove the graphics card, first pull up on the green tab holding it down. Then you should see a white lock on the edge of the GPU. Push that down and give the GPU a gentle pull up to disconnect it from the slot. Finally, to remove the motherboard from the chassis, loosen any of the screws you find holding it down with a screwdriver. In the case of our PC, we have 7 to 8 screws holding it down. Loosen them to remove the motherboard. Unplug the audio header, card reader, LED header, and any other connections leading into the motherboard. Finally, after you've removed all the connections and screws holding the motherboard down, gently lift the motherboard out of the chassis. Well, congrats! That concludes the disassembly. Let's move on to the assembly process. Insert the motherboard back into the chassis and align it with the screw holes that hold it in place. Again, using a screwdriver, screw in the 7 to 8 screws we previously took out in the last clip. Screw them down to hold the motherboard in place. Plug in the audio header, card reader, LED header, and any other connections leading into the motherboard once again. Reassemble the GPU by aligning the pins at the bottom of the card to the slot on the motherboard. Then simply press down until you hear a click. This indicates that the card is secured and properly connected. Reassemble the power supply by installing it into its original location in the chassis. You can use the image on the right as a reference. Align the power supply with the screw holes found on the back panel of the chassis. Use a screwdriver to tighten the screws to secure it in place. Fun fact, the power supply provides power to the rest of the computer, including any installed hard drives, GPUs, DVD drives, etc. The power supply powers components through connections such as the 24 and 4-pin motherboard power connectors. Plug in the 4-pin and 24-pin motherboard power connectors as shown in the tutorial. To reassemble the DVD drive, slide it back in through the front of the chassis. Reconnect the DVD drive to the motherboard using the serial ATA cable. Plug it in as shown on screen. Then connect the other end of the cable to the orange serial ATA connector on the motherboard. Next, connect the serial ATA power cable that runs from the power supply to the DVD drive as shown in the video. Last but not least, insert the RAM sticks back into their respective slots on the motherboard. Press down on the RAM sticks until you hear a click. This indicates that it is properly installed. A tip for beginners is to align the notches on each RAM stick to the RAM slots on the motherboard as shown in the picture on the right of the screen. This is to ensure that the RAM is not damaged during assembly. To reassemble the hard drive, slide it back into what's known as a drive bay by using the green tabs to slide it back into place. Reconnect the serial ATA power cable which runs from the power supply and into the hard drive's power input. Finally, connect the hard drive to a serial ATA controller located on the motherboard using a serial ATA data cable. This will transfer data between the hard drive and the motherboard. Finally, reassemble the side panel by sliding it back over the exposed section of the chassis. Locate the screw holes on the back side of the PC and using your fingers, screw in the thumb screw to secure the side panel in place. Congratulations, you've finally reassembled the PC. Let's begin the Windows 10 operating system download process. Insert a USB stick into your laptop with a storage space of at least 8 GB. In a browser, simply search up Windows 10 Download and click on the link shown on screen. Once you've opened the website, scroll down until you see an option called Download Now. Click on it. Once you've downloaded the Windows 10 installation media, open it, and you'll be met with a page like this. Read through the applicable notices and license terms and accept. We want to create a bootable USB flash drive with Windows 10 so we can then install it onto our PC. Simply click on the second option shown and click Next. Because we speak English and since we want to install Windows 10, do not change any settings here. However, if you are comfortable with a different language or edition, feel free to change it according to your needs. Because we want to install Windows 10 on a USB flash drive, select the first option and click Next. Now select the name of your USB flash drive and click Next once again. Wait for the download process. Once your USB flash drive is ready, you can now remove your USB from your laptop or computer and click Finish. Insert the bootable USB flash drive into the back of the PC. Click on the power button on the front of the PC and wait for the monitor to boot up. Click the delete button on your keyboard to enter the BIOS setup on your PC. Use the arrow keys on your keyboard to travel to the Boot Options tab. Click Enter on the first boot device to open an options menu. Use the down arrow key on your keyboard until you're hovering over Removable Device. Click Enter to select it. Click F10 on your keyboard and click Enter to save the changes we've made in the BIOS setup. Wait for the PC to restart. Once the PC's restarted, we'll be met with a Windows Setup settings screen. Change the time and currency format from English United States to English Canada. If you don't live in either of those countries, choose whichever one applies to you. Click Next to continue and click Install Now. If this is your first time installing Windows on your PC, then check your confirmation email for a product key. If, however, you are reinstalling Windows like we are on this PC, select I don't have a product key here. Select the operating system you want to install and click Next. Read the license terms and check the box here. Then click Next to move on with the Windows setup. For this tutorial, we're going to select Custom to install Windows only. However, pick whichever installation type you prefer. Select the drive where you want to install Windows and click Next. Wait while Windows is downloaded on the PC. For now, we can select I don't have internet in the bottom left corner. Start the account setup by creating a username or password for your account. Answer any of the following 3 security questions to protect your account. Answer the following questions based on your preferences for your account. And just like that, you fully disassembled, reassembled, and downloaded an operating system on a PC. Congratulations.